Well, let's start with the week's big news, something that's been hanging over the club for years and years. To have the Abbey Stadium back, or to be close to completing that process, is just fantastic, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing news, and huge credit to Paul Barry, Mark Green, Adam Webb, really, for making it happen, and Ian Maffer for overseeing that sort of project, and Grosvenor, who have been real friends of the club for a long period of time. I think if you're a young fan, you wouldn't understand the magnitude of it. And if you weren't here 20 years ago or whatever it was, I was working there at the time, and yeah, incredible really to almost complete that circle and be close to having the ground back as our own. We know it's a bit run down. We know it's not. There's work to be done, but it's ours, and I think that really matters. And nothing gives you more. Nothing gives you more of a platform than having your own home and not being beholden to anybody else. I mean, Grosvenor have been amazing for us, and I know people much more qualified to talk on it than me will give the real detail around everything. But just from I guess I speak as a little bit of a supporter of the club, and certainly on behalf of all the supporters that understand how important that is, how bad a time it was when the sale of the ground had to happen originally, the difficulties that we've been through since then, and the momentum that we've currently got, and things like that just help that continue. It's such a significant day. We've had so many highlights on the pitch. We've had so many ones throughout the last 18 months, 2 years, but off the pitch, I don't think there's a more significant one than that. And it just gives us a little bit of control over what happens next. And in the end, the board of directors and the senior staff that are responsible for taking the club forward can only do it from a really stable base, and that comes from the owners, and that comes from an ambition to get this club where it can do, and to keep building it and to keep growing. And there is always a way of doing that by building a team on the pitch, but you can only do it if you build everything. And the fact that we've got that in our own destiny again is going to be a major pull for us. So it's a huge highlight. Nothing's more important than that this week. It's the biggest news for a long, long time. And I think actually in a really nice way, and a very uncommon scenario in 2022, there's not many surprises anymore. Everyone knows everything before it happens. And this came out of the blue for people. So it's obviously been brilliantly worked on in the background, but it shocked people and gave people a moment of joy. I was in London on Tuesday afternoon, got off the train at Cambridge before I was heading to Milton Keynes, bumped into a supporter who came and spoke to me and was very kind, but displayed the emotion that I think all football fans would have felt about that. And yeah, long answer to your question, Swanee, but a huge moment for the football club, and credit to the owners for making it happen and allowing us to now make the next steps. And the next steps will take time, but it's the most important step along the way first.
Yeah, a long answer, but worthy of the subject, really, because as you say, a massive moment for the club and a number of key people involved, but in some respects, none more so than Grosvenor themselves, who have to have an understanding and appreciation of where the club is at and the importance to the community and all of that side of it. Is the Duke of Westminster somebody you've ever met? Because he's clearly played a role in this process, and a really important one.
No, I mean, I do mix in some circles, Swanee, but I'm not in that realm just yet. So I think Paul Barry and Ian Mather are probably the most qualified to speak on the real detail of things. I can only speak as an employee of the club and a supporter of the club to know how influential and how important Grosvenor have been throughout the whole process, how kind they've been to us when we've really struggled and found things difficult. And they could have made it incredibly difficult for us in our most difficult financial times. And I guess it just continues everything that we've got going on. There's a nice feel-good factor around the club at the moment. Things are moving forwards. It's difficult to keep driving and keep the momentum, but significant events like this one really help you. So my only thought really, and I guess I look at social media and see the amount of goodwill and good words that have got said on behalf or towards Grosvenor, and I can only echo that really. They've been outstanding for us, but the real ins and outs of any next steps is for those people to speak on.
Yeah, and the crucial next step moving forward, as we know in the modern game, ideally, almost necessarily, you can't have your stadium just being about once every 2 weeks or a couple of times every 2 weeks when you play the games. presumably the next big step now, and Paul alluded to it in his letter, it is a big step, but to try and get the Abbey into a position where it can deliver a bit more of that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, fundamentally, my job is get a team on the pitch that people want to fill the stands to come and watch. And ultimately, that's the day that I'm responsible for. And others in the club know that in order to grow as a club and keep improving, we have to increase our natural resource. So how do we do it? We do it with businesses away from the pitch and therefore utilise the stadium, the facilities to generate income and to increase the supporter base. So I have an impact and an influence over trying to increase the supporter base. I think we've done well with that this year, and hopefully we can hook and keep people on board and see that improvement going into next season. And then the other bits are going to take time, there's no doubt of that. But every conversation I've been in with the board and with the owners over the last 18 months, the desire and the will to improve the match day experience for supporters, firstly, is massive. And when we know that there's going to be sidelines of how can we generate more business and more income through facilities, and that will take time to get to that point. But fundamentally, we can't take our eye off the ball, and we're not doing in the fact that, first of all, we're a football stadium that's there for 23 plus cup games a year, and we want to make it a brilliant experience on and off the pitch for the supporters that come. And there's real progress being made, and people will have to probably wait for the biggest events and the biggest moments to happen somewhere in the future. But yeah, our supporters have been fairly patient because they keep coming now, and sometimes it's not great. We understand that in terms of everything that they go through in their experience from day to day. But Paul's huge drive is match day experience for supporters and making sure that they want to come to the ground. And I think that this gives us a chance of taking that next step and making that possible.
More immediately, work on the training ground as well. Now, it's been a good base for you over recent seasons. It's also had some difficulties and some problems as well. Is that something that can happen fairly quickly to get it to that next level?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, again, that's something that Ian's led on and done great. And Clare College are really good partners of the club and people that we're really grateful for the relationship. It's very difficult getting land in Cambridge and creating such facilities. We've got a decent base, but as the level goes up and as we continue to compete at better levels, we have to provide better, and our expectations have to go up as well. And that is the drive now, to improve the quality of the pitches, improve the building and the environment that we come to work in every single day. And we've tried to maximise that as best we can. Now, it isn't the be all and end all, because last year we spent most of the year without being able to go indoors and got promoted. So bricks and mortar aren't the fundamental things. People are, and culture is, and identity is, and that's what we have to continue building. But at the same time, if we can get that physical environment better and improve it, and there's huge desire to do that. Myself and Ben Strang have worked, and Tom Powell and Ian with different companies in terms of looking at building space and things. So Ian's conversations with the college continue around what the next steps are, but there's certainly a huge will and desire to invest in that infrastructure to improve things. So again, in terms of long-term stability, it's the right way to do things, and I think the club are on the right path there, and we've got the right people in all the key positions to try and drive it home and make it happen.
Well, from discussing one famous old stadium to another, Sheffield Wednesday this weekend, one of those away trips, when the fixtures were announced, it was clearly a standout one straight away, one of those games you'd look for.
Yeah, it's terrific, isn't it? I mean, I just think when you look at the progress of the last little period of time, you can just point to the significance of this week as to go, well, there's a great standpoint of where we've come from and where we've got the potential to go to. And I'm always very mindful of looking back too much, but you have to have those moments, because if you don't know where you come from, it's really hard to know where you go next. And when you're talking about a 7-day period or a 5-day period where we've just bought back the Abbey Stadium, we're making real progress on improving, developing the training ground for the players and the staff to really be able to cement our position in this division and keep moving forwards and keep developing players. That's fairly significant. And in the same week, we're preparing to go to Hillsborough to play Sheffield Wednesday in a league game. But I think you can't look too much further than that in terms of the progress that has been made in a short period of time. Now, we know there's plenty of room to keep growing, but when you look at going to Hillsborough this weekend for a league game, I think that's pretty significant. We had a brilliant game with them earlier in the season. and we're very competitive, and they're in terrific form and playing really well. But it's very easy to, I think, forget. At the beginning of the season, when the fixture list drops, you look for the games like these ones, and you look at them and go, these are the ones that we've got promoted for. These are the ones that we're pushing for. And obviously, you look at Ipswich, Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, Wigan, they're all to come. Very easy to forget that feeling that you'd have felt at the start of the year at this time around. And we have to remind ourselves that these are the games why we did everything we did last year. These are the games you want to play in. These are the experiences and the atmospheres that you want to test yourself in. And we have to constantly remind ourselves of that, because we've got some absolute belters to look forward to, none more so than this one at the weekend.
Yeah, and good preparation for this game, really. The past 2 away matches, both sides in the promotion mix, very different sides about how they play their football and go about things. So you're in a good place. You've had 2 really good tests.
Yeah, I mean, the top teams are top teams for a reason. They've got incredible depth to the team. I think that's one of the biggest things, the changes that they can make and the quality that they've got. And so when we play against them, we know how hard it is, how concise teams are, how ruthless they can be, and the level that they can get to. We also know that for large periods of games, because we've got that experience and we've come out on top of some big games this year, we know we're capable of being competitive with them, but we also know what can happen at the other side of the coin. So it gives us a humility knowing how hard we've got to work and how good we've got to be in order to get something from the game. And you look at a team like Sheffield Wednesday who are in terrific form. Obviously had a bad result last weekend, but they'll want to respond from that because they've been in good form since then. And they've got some top players coming back from injury. They've got a real deep squad, an excellent manager. And it will surely be a really good atmosphere because they've got a run of games coming up that they need to win to cement that playoff position, which is a really open race at the moment.
With the team news, Sam Sherring missing out last weekend with concussion, James Brophy picking up a knock during the game, but I think you felt immediately afterwards he would be okay. Are they both back in contention for Saturday?
Yeah, both fine. Nobody back that was out, and Liam O'Neill, actually, he's back in training. So yeah, everybody's available, and for the first time in months, we've probably got more than the matchday squad of 18 available. So yeah, it's a nice situation to be in, which sets us up nicely for the end of the season. Yeah,
we saw Kai Mackenzie-Lyle being put through his paces ahead of the game on Saturday. Is he close to being back as well?
He's training with Martin at the moment on the grass. He's not done any group training sessions yet, a little bit on Tuesday. But yeah, getting closer to full team training sessions, but not quite there yet.
How's Greg Taylor getting on? He was on the bench, as we know, for the Luton game, and also I think it was the Burton game as well. Is he still progressing okay?
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's on all sorts of different machines and bits and pieces. And I think with these longer term injuries, the ones that are so significant, you can never expect a straight line back. So yeah, he's not fully training at the moment. He's stepped back a little bit in his rehab, but no real dramas there. It's just a slow burner. What we won't do is push him stupidly at this stage of the season with the situation that we're in and the number of games that we've got left. So we'll just see how he goes as to whether he can really contribute any more before the end of the season. But there's no real stress from us on that side. I think we need to be sensible and understand the significance of the injury and making sure that he's fit as we finish the season.
And a quick word just to finish on Gary Waddock, who's been missing from the sidelines for the past couple of games, had a knee op. I think you were hoping he would be back relatively soon. Is he going okay?
I've just given him a big hug, actually, Swanee. He's here this morning. So he's in today. We'll do a couple of days next week. Hopefully he'll be back properly the week after that. So he had a knee replacement, which has been needed for a while. Bless him, he's been struggling, but he drives an automatic and it's his left knee, so that helps him get around in terms of getting in. But we probably won't see him darting around the training ground and logging goals around for a little bit of time. So that's probably good for me, to be honest, because I need that exercise. But he's getting there. It'll be good to see him back properly in the next few weeks, but we probably won't see him in the dugout for a couple of weeks yet.
Yeah, and such is the nature of, well, 21st century football, I was going to say, but 21st century anything. I guess he's still been a big part of it through the internet, has he?
Yeah, he's sat at home on a Saturday, watching it from the comfort of his sofa. I'm not sure how comfortable he's felt doing it, and I think he was putting the fans on in the lounge and just replicating the conditions in his lounge just to try and really feel like he was there. He found it frustrating. I follows on a slight delay, so any communication is a nightmare because he's just a couple of minutes behind us in the moment. So actually, the live feed conversations between us is not worth having because it's just it's madness really. But he's still able to watch the games. He's still able to do some analysis stuff for us throughout the week. But fundamentally, we just miss his personality around the place. But we've done great. I think we've overcome lots of challenges so far, and yeah, he's just another one that added to our long injury list in January and February. But again, he's getting nearer to fitness, much like the rest of the other boys. So hopefully we'll have a real strong finish.
Cool, that's great for me.
Hi Mark, just a couple from me. Could I ask for a bit more detail as to what you expect from Sheffield Wednesday this weekend?
I think they've got a real balance in their play. They play with a front two, and I mean, you know, you write the squad up and you just look at the depth and the numbers that they've got. Patterson and Canberra have been playing. Gregory's back fit. So has played. Mendes Lang probably injured. Josh Windass probably injured. Saido Barahino played last week. So there's 6 or 7 strikers that they've got options of, and they give them different varieties. They're a high crossing team. They have a real good balance between direct play and possession play. They play with a back three. They've been quite consistent with their team selection, obviously recently because of results. I think they've got the best player in the league in Barry Bannon. I think he's outstanding, and I think he'll cause us lots of problems, and we see that time and time again. He's one that most managers talk about after games, regardless of who's playing. Everyone seems to talk about how good Barry Bannon is. So I think we saw that firsthand when we came here in the first game of the season. We played with Adam May as an advanced midfield player, and Bannon was playing a bit deeper then. He seems to be playing a bit higher in the pitch now, but we tried to get Adam to take away the threat and follow him around the pitch and get after him. And Ads ran over to me after about 20 minutes and just went, "Bannon's everywhere." And I went, "I know, mate, all the best." So I think sometimes you've got some big challenges to overcome, and those players are, and these experiences are great ones for us. And you can learn lots from those games, but they'll certainly test us in lots of ways. But also, what game to look forward to go there in front of 20-odd thousand, and however many we've got in the away end. It's a long time since we were there. I was there the night Trevor Benjamin nicked the ball off Kevin Pressman and tapped it in for a 1-0 win. And Carl Boney and Di Canio were playing. It's a long time ago, that. But yeah, there's certainly games you look back on, and supporters that come this weekend that were there will be loving the fact that we're there. And we have to try and do that as a team and love the fact that we're in these games and try and make the most of it.
Yeah, just to pick up on that point, another good following on Saturday, another good away following. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd expect there to be, really. They have been all season, but we've got this Ipswich, Sunderland. We'll get big followings at all of those because it's you tick the grounds off your list of ones that you haven't been to potentially, and real big away days, super atmospheres. I'm sure people really enjoy it, and we've given people lots of that, and they've given us lots of support back. We have to keep doing that. We've got to keep driving on and making sure that people want to continually come and watch us. I think that supporters are really understanding that. You know, as it stands at the minute, we haven't been in the bottom 6 all season. We've got 10 games to go. We've got a nice cushion above people. We're having a brilliant season, but we know how tough it is, and winning games is really difficult. And I think the support has been incredible, that even on the tough days when it hasn't gone our way, people are backing us because they know that they've got a team that are giving everything they can, first time at the level, experiencing it. And I think we'll keep people with us if we continue doing that, regardless of results. But yeah, for us, it's find the performance level first and be in the game, and then see if we can take something from it, because there's no doubt with a lot of the games we've got against the top teams coming up, the top 6, they're all fighting for promotions. We know how difficult that is. We know what pressure that can put on teams, and we can go there with a little bit of freedom about us and try and spoil a few parties if we can.
Just finally, you're going to give Adam May the task of marking Barry then?
No.
Thank you.
Just a quick one. How important is the golden share in the buyback of the Abbey?
Yeah, it's not something I can speak hugely on, but I think the bit I can talk on is that should take away any fear from supporters around the transfer of a stadium, because it is for the long-term sustainability of the club. It is with the fans' best interests in mind, and in the end, we've got an owner who's a supporter who's got the very best interests of the club at heart. So I think it's incredible that the purchase could involve that golden share. I think it's testament to, you know, the Tracy Crouch review that Godric Smith was part of in government, and Tracy will be involved at some point in this whole implementation of it. And I think fundamentally, from the very beginning of the pandemic, we set out on a mentality as a board, as a club, as owners, to try and go first on a few things and try and lead the way in certain areas. It's a mentality that served us well, whether that was from how we engaged with the community during the pandemic, from signing off players, from putting ourselves as a pilot crowd when crowds first returned, all the little things that we've done dripping along the way to have that mindset of let's try and get ahead, let's try and lead the way in certain areas, because we know there's some areas we can't lead the way in, but the ones that we can, we've got to try to. And I think that just shows the joined up thinking and the drive from the club to try and make a difference, really, and really make sure that all of us that are in charge of and responsible for this club now leave it in a better place when we're not here anymore. And that is fundamentally what everyone's trying to do.
That's great. Thanks, Mark.